Hi, everyone.
Oh, oops. Okay, so welcome everybody to our Violin Masterclass. I'm so excited to have all of you guys here today. Our guest today is Miss Alexandra Osborne, and she's from the National Symphony Orchestra. So Miss Osborne, can you give us a short intro?
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're here tonight. And hopefully you guys aren't all zoomed out from the last few months, but doing the best we can. I go by Ali. I have played in the National Symphony since 2009. I won my job. I'm from Australia originally. I've been in this country since 2001. I came over for college. And I'm definitely missing work very much. I miss performing. I miss playing concerts and sharing music with everyone. But I've been able to do a few very safe distance projects, which is nice, in person. And then I've done some recording stuff online as well. And I taught for the National Symphony has like a summer music institute, and they went virtual this summer in July, which was actually really successful. So I did a lot of teaching and masterclass and stuff. So that was good, and had a lot of students from around the country that were able to, you know, sign in and enjoy some music and teaching. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to tonight. By the way, if anyone has any questions, whilst I'm explaining something, or I don't know, feel free to speak up. Or I don't know if Amy, you can help with this. If you keep an eye on the chat box, if anyone wants to send a message. And if you don't feel comfortable, I'll just put this out there for everyone listening and watching. If you don't feel comfortable asking your question to everyone, feel free to privately message me, and I can just repeat the question or whatever, like, to the group. And I obviously won't use your name or whatever if you privately message me. So yeah, looking forward to everything. I haven't met Amy in person, but we've email exchanged, and I think this is such a cool organization that you've got going. So I really appreciate being on here and helping you guys out a little bit. So yeah, shall we get started?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm going to put in the chat again. I have a performing order. So performers, you should be able to see your number. So whenever I call your number, just say your name, where you're from, and what you're playing. So without any further ado, can performer number one please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I'm from Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware, and I'm playing the Sarabanda from Bach's Second Partita.
All right. Thanks. Looking forward to it. Oh, and before you get started, I'm sorry. I think we have is three people, and just so everyone's aware, I think we're going to try and spend about 20 to 25 minutes with each person, see how things go. But if that gives the other people a heads up, you can sort of time it out for when it's your time to get your violin out and ready and stuff. So, all right, take it away.
Thank you.
him. Let's give him a bit of a clap. Thank you. Thanks so much. Very nice, very nice. I have a couple of things to tell you, if that's okay. So intonation, pretty good. I'm happy with that. Thank you. I was wondering, my question for you right now is, have you practiced this? You're not going to like me very much. Have you practiced this with a metronome much at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. And has that, when was the last time you did that?
Like a week ago.
Okay, all right, that's not too bad. So, yeah, I just find, so one thing look, there's so many different ways to play Bach, and everyone has an opinion on it, right? Like, do we play it with vibrato? Do we play it without vibrato? What tempo do we choose? You know, and these are all decisions that we as musicians and performers get to make, right? So, I'm not going to tell you, hey, I think you should play without this or that or with this or that, okay? Because I think you have to make your own decisions for what you like, which I think you're doing very nicely so far on that. But my suggestion would be, I think it's very important for us all, and I hope you guys remember this if you're learning any sort of Bach or really any sort of piece, any sort of composer. I think what's important is that we really pay attention to what the composer has put on the page, okay? And by that, specifically for you right now, I think that's rhythmically, it would be very important, and I would highly encourage you to really just come back to the absolute quarter note pulse of this. And that's why I asked you about the metronome, because your rhythm is sort of it's a little bit all over the place. And that sort of disturbs the flow, really, the flow, like the way the piece moves forward and stuff, you know. And it also, from your rhythmical perspective, I find that it somehow becomes a little bit disjointed, okay? If you're sort of taking too much time in places where the melody needs to sort of gel together, for lack of a better way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, let's just chat a little bit. So that would be my number one thing about the metronome, okay? And that's a pretty easy fix. You put your metronome on and you must pay attention. Like, it's very easy for us when we're practicing, and I notice this for myself, is I can easily stop paying attention to the metronome, and I'm not focused on exactly where that beat is, okay? So we must stay very focused when we're doing metronome work, because otherwise it's just a waste of time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my little lecture about the metronome. But on that note of flow and rhythmical sort of thing, sometimes I find that you pick up your bow, like in between certain things that may belong together, okay, melodically. So I was wondering if you could do me a favor and just play. I've actually got the music here. Just play for me, I don't know, probably about the first 3 bars if you can. But what I'd like for you to do is just play the top melody. Right, and maybe about that much. But really try to make it this beautiful, connected, almost as if you were singing it. And I don't know how much you guys, in general, I'm speaking to everyone here now. By the way, if you're not on the camera, I highly suggest you go on the camera, because I'd love to see your face. But I totally understand if you don't want to put your camera on. But so I'm talking to everyone here. When we're practicing melodies, really thinking about it in terms of how we would sing it. And I don't know how much your teachers have encouraged you to sing something out loud, for example, you know, prior to playing it on our instrument. I personally hate my voice. I don't think I'm a very good singer at all, but I still force myself to do it because you notice like the voice doesn't lie. Actually, like if you're singing a melody, you have to we naturally sort of connect melodies together with our voice. But yet sometimes when we get like the violin in our hand and we try to translate that, it doesn't always come across. So I highly recommend everyone when you're practicing to um, just try singing something out loud before or during your practice session. Okay, so Gabriel, yeah, so great. Can you try that for us? Just really beautifully connected. Okay, just the top notes, the melody. Okay, and I'm also going to give you a tempo if that's okay. So it's going to sound something like 2, 3, ba da, about this tempo. Okay, a little bit faster than you're doing. Very nice. Thank you. So I noticed, and I don't know if any of you guys out there listening notice, but when you just play that top melody like that, instead of all the crazy chords and everything that we have to play as part of this, you naturally connected everything really lovely. Okay, like very nice. So my suggestion, I really would love for you to do that, even when you put all the fancy chords in there. Okay, so sorry, my violin's out of tune, but like keeping the bow into the string instead of, that's what I mean by you are kind of lifting it up. Right? You're sort of lifting the bow. If you can sort of find some connection in your bow between the down bows and the up bows, probably in general, it's going to help you put everything together nicely. Yeah. More flow, more connection, this kind of stuff. Yeah. Much better. Hopefully everyone can hear that. It's already starting to gel together much better. Thank you. That was awesome. So I'm going to pick on your rhythm right here. You kind of destroy the 16ths, my friend. You sort of, you go into La La Land right there. It's only one beat. Da da da. We've got to get through these 16ths, okay? Don't linger too much on the 16ths, okay? So in coming back to my lecture for everyone, make sure that your rhythm is nice and accurate. Yeah. Can you just pick it up right there? So keep that quarter note pulse going. It has to be very consistent. Yeah. Good. Keep going. Great. It's sounding so much better already. So well done. Let's give you a little bit of help with your vibrato. One of the biggest things I like to encourage my students with their vibrato, and look, vibrato is just hard. It's really hard, right? Like get a good, nice, consistent vibrato going. So, do you go by Gabe? I see it's Gabe on the screen.
Yeah.
But okay, so Gabe, yeah. What I notice about your vibrato is sometimes you start a lovely note. For example, and then you stop halfway through. You stop your vibrato halfway through the note. So what I'd love for you to do as you continue to work on your vibrato, it's hard, make sure that vibrato keeps wiggling. You wiggle all the way through the note. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, again, it connects into the next note. So I guess that's my big word for you tonight, Gabe, is connection. Connection in the melody, connection in your vibrato, and it's just going to put your music together in a much more consistent sort of fashion, if that makes sense. Yeah. Can you just try for me? Oh, I don't know. From this part. So even on this A, make sure that the vibrato doesn't stop. Yeah. Great. Much better. Okay. So play for me from. Do you have bar numbers there?
I have my book out here.
Well, it's where the repeat sign is, bar 10. Can you play for me from here?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I also noticed, and I'm just bringing it to your attention, when you have smaller note values, so 16ths in general, or sometimes the 30 seconds that are like spattered in there, you tend to really take your time through those notes. And I think that those also need a bit more consistency and flow through them, so that the pulse remains the same, and so that the music doesn't get stuck that way, right? It doesn't get stuck, like it stops. So again, it's that flow as part of what you're playing in your solo. Okay, can you just try one more time and try to think about the main beat, you know? This kind of stuff. I'm not saying that the small notes don't matter. Of course they do. But, you know, try to focus more on us as the audience hearing these lovely big chordal things happen, chordal patterns happening, you know. Try one more time. Much better. Yeah. And so I just wanted to speak to everyone, and including you, Gabe, like whenever we're playing Bach, just remember that, I mean, it's so hard. Bach can be very complicated, but so much of it is based around harmony. Okay. The harmonic structure of Bach is very important. And all these, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because these little notes that I was talking about, like a lot of the 16ths and the 30 seconds and all this kind of stuff that he ornaments with, right? It's all, a lot of it is just ornamentation. Makes sense?
Yeah.
And so the harmonic structure is really what we want to focus on. And that's why I'm encouraging you not to take too much time trying to get through these like little itty bitty notes. Okay?
Yeah.
Not to say that they're not important. Of course they are. But our ear wants to sort of focus more on like that harmonic structure, which we don't have time for all of that today, because like harmonic structure and harmony is like, it's a whole nother topic. Okay. And I don't know if any of you guys play piano at all, or like, even if you don't, it's okay. But like, one thing I do like, if you can play piano, what is very interesting is to try and sit down with the score, our violin score of Bach, and try to focus on the chords, you know, that Bach writes, because it sort of gives you a structure that you probably may not realize exists without doing something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. So I think if you can just find a bit more practice, if you haven't, look for just play the main melody at the beginning. I'm just going to play it fast so we save time. But and you know, here. Right, but I was playing it fast just to save time. But practice, and this goes for much of this movement, just practice it without all these crazy chords, and get your ear and get shape the melody the way you want to. And then even when you add in back the chords, when you add the chords back in, try not to change anything about what you enjoyed, about what you did with the connection and all that kind of stuff. From the melody would have been much more simple, right? Just to play one note at a time versus like 3 or 4 or whatever it is. So yeah, so, and then just have a think and keep an eye and an ear out for your vibrato, okay? So that you, because we get into these bad habits, I do it too, you know. Make sure we're starting the vibrato from the start of a note, right? We're not doing something like this, you know, and then stopping it. You want the vibrato to be very even throughout like an entire note, particularly when you're holding it for a bit, yeah? Otherwise it becomes very noticeable, and it can disturb and disrupt your connection of notes bonding together, kind of thing. So yeah, do you have any questions?
No, thank you though.
Yeah, very nice. That's a great effort. I know it's not easy. It's and I appreciate you standing up to play in front of everyone too, because it's hard to get up and play in front of our peers. Honestly, it's like one of the hardest things to do. So so thank you. That was awesome.
Okay, that was great. So next we have performer number 2. If you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Dia. I'm from Ellicott City, Maryland, and I'm going to be performing Bruch's Violin Concerto in G minor, third movement.
Third movement, right? Yeah, very cool. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do my violin really quickly. I'm sorry, guys, because it. Okay, much better.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
Oh wait, should I turn on original sound? I'm sorry, I just.
Yeah, I think that makes the sound better.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So much. Yeah, we'll just stop there for right now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Good, very nice, very nice. So I don't actually have the score in front of me for this one, but I try to, in my old age, remember from I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 14.
Okay. So I probably played this when I was like 13 or 14 also. Awesome. So so I'm trying to remember the score. So forgive me. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, remind me if I'm correct. I am pretty sure that there's a rest every time this yum ba da da, because the way I'm hearing it, the way you play it is da 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 da, like you're really elongating these I think they're quarters, aren't they?
Yeah.
Quarters with a, is it a 16th rest?
8th rest.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I would just love to hear, and pretty even when you instead of, right, a little bit of there needs to be a gap. We need to pay attention. So lecturing all my friends here, including you, make sure you pay attention to what's on the page. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the composer, Bruch, actually wrote that there's those 8th note rests in there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel comfortable, it'd be awesome for you to pick up the bow. Right? Instead of dragging the bow. Right? So can you just try that, pop that again for me from the beginning one time, and really try to get these little tiny impulses that are supposed to be there. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, can I start again?
Much better. Yeah. Try it again.
Okay.
Dia.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. You're like pounding away and it sounds great, but it's like, stop. Don't now jip me. Now you're not, it's apparently I'm sorry guys, I'm on like a rhythm kick tonight or something, but now you're not entirely yum, but make sure it's I want it to be a good quarter, right? Like now it sounds a little short.
Okay.
You're trying to make room for that rest, okay? But it'd be great if it's just play it as it's written. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
A good solid quarter note, not too short. Try it again. Now we're getting somewhere. Very good. Do we all hear the difference? There's definitely there's a gap where there should be now. So thank you. Okay, so next comment for you. Can we try and make it I know it's all crazy with all the chords and the double stops and really hard. But again, I think for you also, if you can just one way I like to practice you guys is whenever there is like crazy double stops and chords, and even coming back to Gabe's Bach, right? Like I suggested with the melody, just playing that. I think you could also practice. You could also afford to just right, just playing the top and really shaping that the way that you want it to be. So one thing I noticed for you, Dia, is that it'd be awesome if it can I think you probably think you're doing it, but we really, and I look, Zoom eats up a lot of the sound as well. But so you have to exaggerate even more when you're playing online. But if you can just shape it more, because otherwise it sounds yum, ba da 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 da, you know, and it starts getting very monotonous in some way, you know. So if you can really find the music, yum, ba da 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 ba da 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 da, find the phrasing in it, yeah. So it's not a bunch of like crazy chords that we're just trying to get through, you know. So even here, not just, we don't want it to all sound the same, right? Da 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 da. We want it to da 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 ba ba. So that high B, which you're getting very nicely, but like really go for it. Have the courage to trust yourself. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get that high B, I promise. But make sure that you really kick it nicely, okay?
Okay.
Can you try it one more time from the beginning and try to exaggerate for us all here tonight, the shape in the melody that is there, yeah?
Okay. I'm sorry.
Nice. And then this part, make sure you don't rush through that, triplets. They're too fast, actually. You have more time than you think you have. Can you play that part for me? I know it's hard. Sorry, my dear. You're actually rushing through that.
Oh.
Hold yourself with that pulse. Yeah? Da 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 da. Can you do it one more time for us? One way, and this is just a little bit of tidbit for everyone listening in. Sometimes the way I like to practice hard passages would be to play opposite day. So you've got a bunch of legato going on here and a slur. So I would actually practice it. Don't have the music. That's what it is. I practice it separately. Okay. And that's going to force you actually to play it much cleaner. Yeah. Can you try it for us? It can be a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your tummy, or the other way around. You know, it can be a little bit like that when we try to separate out the bowing from what we're used to doing. But I highly encourage you to practice it. Yeah, and this goes for anyone listening for like hard passages. So likewise, if you've got a separate passage, something like, you know, I would practice it like always slurs kind of stuff, you know. So trick yourself into playing like opposite day. Can you try it for us? See how it goes. A bit of a coordination thing. Yeah, so try it on the string, into the string, détaché, in the string.
Okay. Sorry.
Right, good. So you try that a few times and get it nice and clean, and then I promise you, when you go put it back into that slur, right, it's gonna come a lot more naturally and cleaner, and it's gonna sound really good, you know. Good. So does that make sense? Yeah. Take any sort of passage that you might be working on, usually a difficult one, right, and switch up the bowings, because it sort of forces your brain into something else, you know. Um, Also, I'm a weird one. I will tell you guys, I'm a weird one that actually has all. I've never really had a problem, even when I was a kid. Like, I didn't mind practicing scales. A little weird, but and I know for so many of my students, and I'm sure many of you guys are like, oh my god, my teacher's making me play scales. But it is super duper important to practice your scales, because if you think about it, if no one's really said it to you in this kind of way, but maybe before, but the way I like to describe to my students is that every single piece that you play, I don't care if it's Tchaikovsky, Bach, a brand new composer, 21st century, whatever it is, most of our music, all of our music is based around scale patterns and arpeggios in some way, right? So that is why, all my friends here tonight, that's why it's so important to practice like the technical stuff. Because the thing is, when you go and try and pick up the Bruch violin concerto, or you try and learn the Mendelssohn violin concerto, or whatever piece it is, it doesn't have to be a concerto. I guarantee you that so much of that music is based around scales and arpeggios. So that is why we do all that hard, crazy work on that technique. But what I was going to suggest as part of like working on your bowing situation, for many of you that don't like practicing scales, switch it up. You don't have to play them all like slurred. Right, you know, practice them with different bow strokes. Could be Makato. Could be off the string. You know, and keep yourself entertained, you know, by like by switching up the bow strokes of scales, because you're still practicing the scales that way. You're just helping yourself out, keeping it interesting, right? So okay, great, Dia. So let's get back to you. Can you go on?
Yeah.
Good. So right here is, that's okay. Right there is a perfect example. Da 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 ba 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 bum. Da 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 ba ba ba. It happens twice, right? We really need to find the phrasing in that. And I guarantee you think you're probably, I'm sure your teachers and whomever you've played this for so far, or maybe you haven't played for anyone, I don't know. But you probably think that you're doing the phrasing because you're very musical. So I'm sure you think you're doing it, but I'm telling you right now, I've played the violin for more than 30 years. and for much of that professionally, and I listen back to recordings of different stuff I've done, and I'm always like, oh dang it, like I thought that, you know, I thought I was doing that crescendo, or oh man, like I thought that I was doing that subito pianissimo or something, and it's like, no, that wasn't happening. You know. So this happens to all of us, that you know, make sure that we're always, you really, we're all performers as musicians, and you're an artist, and you really have to overdo it. Okay. Exaggerate, exaggerate, exaggerate. Okay. So I'm sure you think you're, I'm sure you think you're doing it, but it's not quite coming across. I think you can do it better. Can you just try that for us?
Yeah. Wait, where do you want me to start from? Just like.
Yeah. Start from there.
Okay.
play for me like the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 bars. And on these top, can you put a little left hand vibrato on the da 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 da? You know, I can't remember how it goes exactly. Sorry. Can you just play the last like 6 or 8 bars and try to put a couple of squiggles goes a long way. And if you can get the vibrato in that, it's going to project like much more, and it's going to make the sound ring a lot more too. If you can just get a few squiggles on the left hand, it'd be great.
Okay.
All of this you would practice a little bit slower and try and get it and it doesn't mean elongate the right hand. I want you to keep the good articulation you had in the right hand. So don't elongate the down bows just because you're trying to emphasize a little bit with the left hand. Can you try it again? Good. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to project the sound a lot more if you put sometimes we need to put the vibrato in the sneakiest of places. Sometimes like things that we don't necessarily think need vibrato, and just kind of put it in, and it makes a world of difference. Okay, so these are the secrets to like upping your game. So you might be at A level and you want to go to A plus or A plus plus level. You know, there's a difference between, you know, you're a pretty good violinist and then you want to like elevate yourself to like top level kind of thing. These are the secrets of, you know, elevating one's violin playing, throwing vibrato in where maybe you have forgotten to put it in or something like that, you know. Okay, go on for us just briefly. Dia, sorry, not Dina.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, before you started, did you breathe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe I just didn't see it, but I thought you just like slammed into. You know, we all have to breathe, guys. When wind and brass players play, you know, like the crazy people that play the flute and all this, all of them. No, violin way better. When wind and brass players, if you think about it, they will die if they do not breathe. Like this is a serious thing. Okay. I think as string players, we tend to forget to breathe a lot. I know sometimes I get to the end of like a really hard page or a really hard passage and I'm like, like I think I forgot to breathe, you know? So I'm pretty not strict is not the right word, but I really get on my students about breathing because it does make a difference. Like if you just slam straight in and you haven't really prepped yourself, you know, or given yourself a chance to come in and cue yourself. And so please make sure that everyone breathes before we start something. Yeah, not just like come in and do it. Okay. Good. Can you just show me like a real good breath entry? Just a couple bars with your breathing at the front end of it. That was good. That was really good because it sounded like a much bit more confident sort of start actually too. So that's good. Also, dear, in all of these crazy passages here, again, as you keep working on it, as you keep practicing it, It all sounds a bit one-dimensional in terms of the fluidity of it. I think you can use the way that Bruch actually writes, if it's going, like, come back to like 5th grade sort of, or 1st grade violin playing, you know. If your teachers ever say, hey, if the melody goes up, make a crescendo. If the melody goes down, maybe make a decrescendo, you know, like those kind of, like, within reason, of course, you know, but try to use that as your phrasing. Like if Bruch is making da 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 da, that crazy, I guess it's an E minor arpeggio, that one. Yeah, make that like really escalate itself to like, I need a much bigger like whoosh of sound there, kind of thing, you know. So coming back to just following the patterns of the notes. Yeah, can you just try it for us one more time?
I'm sorry.
Hey, and this is my lecture for everyone, because I notice it. I've heard a lot of people practicing in my life between college and backstage and auditions and things where people are warming up, right, or practicing, like violin practicing, and I see a lot of this. Oh, I'm ready. Right? So here's the thing. Here's the lecture about that. If you think about it, if you're in a concert situation, you don't have time to go, like, where is it? Oh, okay, I'm ready. Right? So if you're incorporating that into your practice, you know, like, you're kind of creating a little bit of a bad habit there, I would say. I'm not specifically picking on you, okay? I'm just observing it, what you just did. Yeah, is that fair? Because I'm not specifically saying this is a Dia issue. It's like many of us do it, and trust me, like almost every of my students do this, and I have to be like, no, don't do that, you know. But if you can just catch yourself, and this goes for everyone, whenever you're starting a passage, especially something high, and you're kind of doing this, oh, I'm ready. You know, it kind of, it's not training your brain or your fingers accurately to be able to prep. So what I would love for you to do in this situation, you have to find that F sharp, right? So how are you going to find that F sharp safely?
Left hand fits.
Yeah, you could, or you do it through a lower position. You could be like, oh, I know where the 3rd position is. I know where the 4th position is, and then, oh, okay, I'm ready with my 3rd finger, right? Okay, so I would do that like silently. Okay, I'm good, right? So, so that's kind of just an idea. I just observed you doing that, so I decided to pick on you about that, and then tell everyone, like, try to get out of the bad habit of yeah, starting and getting that into our practice. Because in a real life situation, you know, non-COVID times when we actually are performing, you know, you're not going to have time on stage to sort of figure out where it is loudly, audibly, like that. Yeah. All right, very good. So I think we need to move on, but I appreciate you playing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to pick your bow up for the yum rest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so last but not least, we have performer number 3. So if you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jeanne. I'm from Rockville, Maryland, and I'll be playing Sibelius' 3rd movement.
Great. I think we lost some people along the way, did we? Or maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, whenever you're ready. Awesome. Okay, I was just going to stop there for right now, if that's okay. Nice. Well done. This is a really hard piece. Very good. So one thing for you would be sneaking the vibrato, talking about sneaking the vibrato in. You know those crazy octaves at the end? I don't think I'm even going to attempt them because I don't think my octave game is very good right now. But if you can just try it for me, and I just didn't think it. It's like, you know, I wasn't sure, or you were standing a bit further away, which is okay. But I couldn't quite totally see your left hand to make sure it from a listening perspective, it didn't sound like you were vibratoing really consistently throughout all those throughout all the octaves. So I hate to ask you to just isolate the octaves, but do you mind trying just the octaves at the end there, and just try to keep the vibrato going through all those notes, and even with the shifts and all the stuff that you do, try to keep the vibrato going. Yeah. You're doing it, but I'm not quite getting it on the top of your hand. I know the poor like fourth finger and stuff is a thing, but our poor little left hand fourth finger is so hard, you know. But even if you're using third finger as well, or whatever you're doing, but the top finger is not always getting like that really awesome sort of ringing sound that I'm looking for.
Okay.
Fourth finger right now?
Yeah.
So I notice on your left hand that your third finger is really dipping down.
Oh.
Can you keep it more in line? So it really dips down like away. Can you keep it more like in line with the rest of the fingers? And the reason why I say that, I always, whenever I tell someone, especially I don't know, hey, don't do that like with your left hand. You're probably like, well, I don't understand why. I'm very much like a why person. I like to explain why. So the reason why you don't want to dip that third finger down too much is because that causes like extra tension. And I know all you young people, I'm just putting down my violin so I can explain this. But all you young people don't think about like injuries and hurting yourself and all this stuff. But trust me, I've never had I'm very lucky in some ways, but I think it's because I've also been a little smart. I've never had a performance injury, which is kind of unusual because especially in college, like a lot of people get like tendonitis and all this kind of stuff. so yeah, so coming back to that third finger, if you drop that down, like already I can feel the tendons in my arm like sort of start to clamp up a bit, whereas if it's more relaxed and just like sort of your normal violin shape there, then it doesn't get so tight down your arm. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So just an observation, you know, and yeah, just make sure that you're keeping that really nice. So even though we're playing octaves, so here's my octave. Right, so I'm not like doing anything weird with my fingers, like pulling them in different directions, right? Like, does it make sense for everyone? Yeah. So you maintain that left hand shape. And look, there will sometimes be exceptions. You're not always going to have the perfect left hand shape, just depending on, sometimes in Bach actually he like because I actually have quite small hands, and so sometimes in Bach like I do have to do like kind of a weird shape to get around, especially some of those 4-note chords. But in general, for your octaves, I would really encourage you to try and maintain. I don't know if you practice scales with octave scales at all, but this would be an idea for you to practice some octave scales and just keep an eye on the shape of your left hand. Okay. Okay, so don't worry about that right now. Just keep it in the back of your mind. So anytime that you have that crazy bowing, it's very good. It's not 100% consistent in terms of the articulation. So it pops up a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
happens a lot on this first page of this movement. So the way you execute the it's not always the wonderful, very articulate sort of. I'm not saying it gets sloppy. I won't go that far. That's a bit mean. But it doesn't get sloppy. But it doesn't always have that really good. The more you do it, as in when you start going down the page a little bit, it's not like as good as it was at the very beginning, kind of thing. Yeah. So just listening to yourself and observing that articulation in the right hand. Can you just try from the top for us?
Jeanne. Jeanne.
Sorry. you were in the moment, my friend. Like, yeah. Sorry, I was trying to get your attention. I started screaming at you. I don't always feel. I feel like those little tiny notes are not these guys. The C sharps. They're not quite tight enough as a rhythm. It sounds like they're starting to get a little bit like longer. So the difference would be instead of be very snappy with this rhythm. Yeah. So I don't know if you can flick the bow a little bit tighter, like da 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 da. It's kind of like Morse code, like da 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 da, you know. But da 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 da, like that flick of the hand should happen incredibly quickly. And I don't think it's quite. I don't know how much you guys cook or bake, or but trust me, you don't want to get burned by the stove. And it's kind of like, you know, if you touch something very hot and it's like that immediate reaction, like, oh my God, like I just hurt myself. You know, it's kind of the same thing in this bow thing, right? With this, It's like this quick flick. It's almost like you've touched something really hot. So I guess my question to you is, do you think you're able to tighten up this rhythm for us right now?
Yes.
Yeah, give it a try. Give it a try.
Wait, sorry.
That's okay. I have an idea for you. And this is an idea for anyone. I don't know how many of you played Sibelius, or you may play Sibelius in the future, but what I notice actually is, let's see if I can explain this. So you play your down bow, and then when you get into this, you immediately start traveling. You start traveling up the bow. I'm wondering if you can remain in the same place for a little bit longer, and then use that part of the phrase to travel up the bow, and then that way you get the consistency of, right, instead of, yeah. I'm just curious. Give it a try, and it might provide a little bit more consistency. And if you guys haven't noticed how many times this word has popped up tonight, consistency, very important. I like it in our violin playing. Okay, so try to have a little bit more consistency, da 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 da, in the way the rhythm and the attack of all of these notes. Okay.
Wait. Oops.
Jeanne.
Yeah, better, much better, Jeanne. And so the thing that it needs now is what it sounds like is now the up bow has a massive accent on it. So all you need to change now is a little bit more direction, that phrasing, da 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 da, a little bit more crescendo in the initial part of it here, and then that big up bow isn't going to make a big accent. Okay, can you try it for us?
Wait.
Yeah, good. Okay, so there's a lot to think about. Honestly, we could spend like 5 hours on one bar here. I mean, that's how crazy this opening of the Sibelius is. But so you work on it, but just make sure that it doesn't start getting too long. Da 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 da. You need it very, very, very snappy and tight as a rhythm. Okay. Good. Can you go on a little bit for us after where you finished before?
Wait, actually,
Yeah, whatever you need. So it's after the octaves. One thing I notice about your playing right here is, and I don't know if anyone else that's watching maybe saw it, or maybe they weren't fully paying attention or didn't observe it, that's okay, but I just wanted to point it out. When you're playing something very loud, let's come back to our, hopefully you guys learned this when you were younger, but the whole thing of like, hey, if you want to play loud, play close to the bridge, and if you want to play soft, play further away from, like, play closer to the fingerboard, right? So what I notice about your bow, Jeanne, in like this pretty loud passage right here is it tends to travel, away from your face and close to your face, and you know. So if you can keep it a little bit more centralized, like closer to the bridge, because we want a big projected awesome sound, right? Because it's loud here. If you can keep it a bit more centralized and work, it is hard to break this habit, but work a lot more at trying to keep it closer so it doesn't do this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna actually, and the why behind that for Ali, why is Ali telling me to play close to the bridge? Because you're gonna get a much more consistent, rich, loud sound by keeping it in the one position, right? Rather than traveling. And because if you think about it, if you're transitioning from, you know, close to bridge to away and back and forth, it's just gonna impact the sound, right?
Yeah.
So try it for us again and see if you can just give it a whirl and see if you can just keep the bow. It's kind of hard to keep it yourself under control, but just try. Better. So you weren't shifting around a lot. So one way I would practice this, and you guys are gonna love me even more for this, is to come back to your handy dandy scales, and it would sound something like this. And all I'm doing is focusing a lot on not moving my bow, right? I'm training myself to control myself and control my bow so that it stays nice, and because I'm looking for that rich, loud, deep, rich sound. Yeah. So does that make sense? So that's one way I would practice getting yourself on track. And again, this doesn't just go for you, Jeanne. This goes for all of us. Like that would be one way to practice. To come back to getting it nice and consistent and close to the bridge. Okay. Good. So also I will say to you, likewise, like we heard with the Bruch, and again, could be the Zoom, but I think we can all afford to exaggerate our phrasing more, even in this Sibelius, right? Like really making sure that if the phrase turns up, make it turn up. If you find it needs to decrease in intensity, but always making it interesting so that it doesn't get boring, yeah. Do you have any questions?
No. Thank you.
Okay, that was awesome. That's hard. Very good. So I thought we'd maybe, if it's okay, Amy, I don't know if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask at this point, or
Yeah.
maybe
Has anyone?
it could be anything. It could be like from what happened tonight. It could be something to do with, I don't know, the NSO or National Symphony or something that you've always wanted to ask, or something about being a musician, or I have no idea. So.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat if you're not comfortable unmuting. So I guess I'll go first then. So I know some people here don't play violin, including myself. So do you have any tips you can share overall about maybe performing in front of people, like especially today because this is a master class and everything?
Sure. So you're talking about it from, say, a like nervous thing. Yeah. So okay, yeah, very good. So look, we all struggle with nerves. That's the first thing to realize. You're not alone. I've been doing this a long time, and depending on the situation and either how many people are listening, or the type of people listening, or what I'm playing, or the venue. I mean, there's so many variables, right, as far as nerves go. But I think the first part of it is, and it sounds funny, but like acceptance. They're there. We know that. I think once we start accepting them, and instead of it being like a, oh my God, like I'm a nervous wreck, you know, once you start accepting that, it sort of provides a small amount of relief, I would say. The other thing is, look, I mean, nothing beats preparation. I would say the less I'm prepared for something, the more nervous I'm going to be. So I'll say that again. The less prepared, the less practice I have done, if I haven't practiced a piece very much and I'm like, oh my God, I got to go and play it for all these people, you know, like depending. And of course, you know, but so preparation is definitely key. You got to be prepared. Otherwise, those nerves are going to kick in, I think, more than they might if you're better prepared for stuff, right? And I think that goes for a lot of stuff in life. Like, I'm sure you guys have noticed that for like school exams or tests, you know, it's like, oh my God, I didn't put in the reading, or I didn't put in the study. And then you start getting more nervous, I think, for stuff. Yeah, and of course, doing it as much as you can. So if you can stand up and perform for your family or some friends, or like, you know, the more that you can put yourself in uncomfortable environments, I'm sure you've heard that from other people too, is like, the more you can stand up and do it, I think it does get a little, you start getting a little bit more used to it, you know. But also I wanted to tell you guys, especially since you're all young and healthy and stuff, but as it's not just about your instrument or preparation. Think about what you're eating. Think about how much sleep you've gotten. Are you drinking enough water? You know, these are things that are very, very important. And I don't think, I'm sure you maybe hear them from your parents or your family, or like, oh, you need to go to bed, you know. But sleep is highly important. And I think that kicks in as nerves as well, if we are not well taking care of ourselves. Okay. So I also have a health coaching certification. So I like to help people with that sort of aspect of their life too, because you know, it's important. It's really important to take care of yourself, get enough sleep, try to get some exercise in. You know, it doesn't have to be every day, but like just some sort of movement that you hopefully enjoy, right? I mean, and those are all habits that you guys can create, particularly as young people. And the earlier you start with those kind of habits, the better it is, because it's hard to change things like the older you get, you know. But yeah, hopefully that provides some insight there. And also just doing some, I've noticed a big difference in my mental shift, just from sitting quietly and sitting with my thoughts and prepare, like it's almost like a meditative state of like just sitting there focusing. A huge technique actually on that point, if we have time, just briefly, is visualization. So visualize the uncomfortable thing you're getting ready to perform. Like say you've got to perform in at the Kennedy Center in 3 weeks from now. Hopefully, maybe, I mean, you guys have so much access to stuff that I didn't have when I was young. You guys can just do the Googles, and then just, if you were performing at the Kennedy Center, if you haven't been there before, look up a picture, see if you can find the concert hall or whatever, or the venue that you're going to perform in. Look up a picture and visualize yourself walking on the stage there, standing there. Think about how you want to bow to the audience or talk to the audience, or, you know, play your piece for the audience. Like just sitting there quietly in a chair and using that kind of visualization technique is very powerful, actually. Yeah. So yeah, think about, and you guys can go online and read about visualization techniques. It's a whole thing. It's very interesting. But that has helped me a lot too. And you, as part of your visualization, you don't start thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fall apart and this is going to be a disaster as part of my visualization. I'm thinking, wow, Ali's going to play really well. This is how I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel confident when I walk out, and I'm going to play great, and I'm going to play really well, and the audience is going to like it. And if you think about it, you can't control, none of us can control how an audience reacts to our playing, right? You can only control yourself, right? So that's the most important thing to take care of is up here, your own brain, yeah? Your own mindset, positivity, telling yourself that yes, you can, you will do great, instead of, oh my God, I'm going to do so badly, and trust me, I am still working on this in my late 30s. So this is not something that you just like magically fix in a day or something. It's a lifetime of work, but yeah, hopefully that hits on some good points there. Does anyone have any questions from that kind of, yeah, Gabe?
Um, I have another question. It's a little not about nerd, but it's about something else. I'll ask it. You're a orchestral musician in the National Symphony Orchestra. I'm sure you've played in like as a soloist with orchestras, and you've probably played in like chamber groups or with like sonatas with piano.
Definitely, quite a lot. It's I love playing orchestra, but oh my God, I love chamber music so much. So yeah.
So, how do you like flip how you like because each one requires its own separate style. I would say, how would you like change how you play depending if you were playing in an orchestra or if you're playing chamber music or as a soloist?
Um, Yeah, great question. Well, so for orchestra, I like to think of it as massive, massive chamber music. Obviously, there's a conductor and stuff, but especially as a violinist, like I have to play along with a lot of people, like playing the same part as me, So I like to think of orchestra playing in my section as just massive, massive chamber music. So I'm going to be listening very carefully to what's happening around me. I'm even trying to listen across the stage to other instruments and, you know, ultimately react and respond as I would in a chamber situation. Um, I think your question was how would I prepare, say, like different kinds? Is that what you were?
Yeah, like how would you play if you were playing like a concerto versus if you were playing?
So I mean, I think it's interesting as a soloist. I think that you can afford a lot more opportunities because it's like in terms of like playing your own part, and it's all about you kind of thing, and so one thing, like in concertos, like if I see a piano marking by the composer, it's not going to be the same kind of piano dynamic that I would play in chamber music or orchestra, because you need to project right over a huge orchestra, well, usually huge orchestra. So my piano in a concerto would probably be at least a mezzo piano, if not a little bit louder. And so all your dynamics sort of become a lot more open and extreme, I think, in a soloist situation, just because you need to be able to be heard, especially as a string player. Um, and sometimes the brass are blaring over the top of you, and you gotta make sure that your part projects. But in terms of the preparation, I would probably do I always do a ton of score study. And by score study, I mean, literally the orchestral score, not just violin one part. Like, it's very important to know what's going on around you. Same in chamber music, like whether it's a string quartet or a piano trio, whatever it is, I definitely follow along and do my study with my recording and my score. Um, I think in a chamber music situation, you got to be like over prepared, because it makes it so much easier when you get into rehearsal and you can understand what those other voices are doing, you know, to try and play together. Okay. But yeah, and of course I'm much more cognizant when I play, say, in the orchestra. I don't, let me just say, I know I'm speaking to some violinists, and you said there's some other non-violinists here, but matching of sounds is very important in an orchestral situation. So I don't want to come in and slam through a passage that I'm playing way louder than my stand partner, or like that doesn't make any sense. It's not going to blend. It's all about blending, right? Blending together the sound in an orchestral situation. So you want to be really hyper aware in the orchestral situation of how people are playing around you, and if you can match sounds and colors as much as possible, like that to me is what makes, and actually that goes for chamber music too, by the way, but that to me is what makes great chamber music groups and some of the best orchestras out there, is because they can blend their sound together in a much more meaningful way than 90 something people sounding entirely different, you know. Yeah, does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Sure.
So with tempo and like rhythm and things like that, when I was a child, my piano teacher would always remind me of that and be like, your tempo is bad. And I'd be like, okay, thanks. And then like I don't remember her really giving me a lot of help on like what to do about that, other than like just keep working on it or just throw a metronome in there. And then like fast forward a few years, now I'm like teaching people, and then I'm finding myself lesson after lesson being like, oh, your tempo could use a little work, but then and the whole metronome thing, but then I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to be of assistance.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting question. Yeah, and because it's the age-old question of why does this person have great rhythms supposedly, and then this person can't keep a pulse, right? Like, and sometimes I feel like that. But I actually found, I'm like you. I was told to, you know, practice with the metronome and it's supposed to all magically fix itself, but that's not always the case. I found a huge difference when I went off to college and we had to do like ear training and different classes like that. And as part of that was rhythm work, where like you're totally away from your instrument, ironically, and you might need to like clap a rhythm that's written in front of you, or you might have to do like two hands or a foot or something, or like speak, like dictate, like ta 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 ta, whilst like keeping a beat, ta 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 ta, like this kind of stuff, you know. And actually one of the books I recommend for that is by Robert Starr. I can send it to Amy if you guys are interested in that. But it's a rhythm training book, and if you can get some people into that, as I said, like getting them away from their instrument where that's kind of the distraction or whatever, and getting them to like feel it with their hands or their feet, or like you know, this kind of stuff, and to much more internalize it and get it part of their body, right? So that we sort of have this internal pulse that we can hopefully keep in different situations. Yeah, looking at some other outside stuff like that would, I think, be quite valuable, rather than just trying to, yeah, just practice with a metronome and hope for the best. And one thing I will encourage you guys, though, with this metronome work, it is so easy. Like I said to Gabe, it's so easy to switch our brains off and not pay attention to that click, right? So making sure you're on the money with the metronome, like you're not ahead of the beat, you're not behind the beat, you're not missing messing the beat around. Does that make sense? Like you're really paying attention. And I tell my students this is much more valuable to be hyper focused for 10 minutes of metronome work than to like, you know, barrel through for like 45 minutes of metronome work and you've barely like paid attention at all. It's much more valuable to do like a smaller amount, better focused kind of work. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? No? Okay.
Okay, well,
Oh, sorry, I got a chat. I'm sorry, I just saw that. Why did you start to play violin? That's a great question. I have one older brother, and in those days, the third graders played violin in school, and he's 6 years older than me. And so he started third grade, and I was like 2 or 3 at the time. And I guess I wanted to be like him. And ironically, he hates classical music now. Not hates it, but you know, just isn't really into it. So he gave up violin literally after a year of having to do it in school. And I picked it up when I was like 4. And then I started piano when I was 5. And piano was actually my main instrument through my childhood. But then I gave it up when I was like 13 or 14 and focused on the violin. So yeah, no, it's an interesting question. But yeah, so I wanted to be like my big cool brother.
okay, so for our final question before we take a picture together and wrap up for today, if you could take out one violinist to dinner, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. I love that question. But I hate it too because that's so complicated. Living or dead?
Either.
Okay. I think if they were dead, I'd probably go with Oistrakh. He's like super old school, and I just either Oistrakh or Heifetz because oh my god, it's just amazing. And living. I don't know if you guys know Janine Jansen. She's a European violinist. She doesn't do a ton of playing in the States, unfortunately, but like I adore her playing so much. Like yeah, I'd love to play chamber music with her. Like that would be awesome. So.
Yeah, great answer. I know that's a tough question because there's so many amazing players out there.
Seriously.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take a picture and it's gonna be posted to social media. So if you don't want to be in that, then you can turn your camera off. But if you're comfortable with it, we'd love to have everyone turn on your cameras. So I'm gonna take it in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and that's it. I've recorded this thing, so I'll be sending it out too if you want to rewatch it and listen to the amazing tips that Ms. Osborne gave out. But other than that, I think that's all the time that we have for today. So I'm so glad that we could have everyone here today. And if you have any questions to send to Ms. Osborne, you can email them to me and I'll forward them to her.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone has any further questions or about anything, I'd be happy to answer them. And thank you to each of the 3 people today that played. I know it's not easy to get up and do that, so thank you. Thanks for sharing your pieces.
Yeah,
and
so
thanks for organizing. I love doing this. So
yeah, thank you so much for coming,
guys. And you know, I know many of you are online and doing that, but hey, we're all doing the best we can, you know. One day at a time. One day at a time.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna end the session now, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening or afternoon wherever you are. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Amy and
Thank
Miss
you.
Osborne.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.